What's up guys, my name's Brandon and iOS 12.1.3 was released to the public last week, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about why it isn't necessarily as good of an update as I originally thought. So in this video we're going to be talking about the performance, the battery life, we're going to be talking about cell and Wi-Fi connectivity and more. Now of course we already did talk about all the features and changes in iOS 12.1.3 in my full review video, so if you haven't seen that I will link that up in the cards and down in the description below. So let's go ahead and start off with the good, because this software update is mostly good. And I'm not making this video to tell you not to update or anything. It's just to explain my experience over the past week, a little over a week now, with this software update on my daily driver, the iPhone XS Max. Now, if you only want to hear about why this update isn't as good as I originally thought, skip to the time you see on the screen right now. All right, so let's start out with the best thing about iOS 12.1.3, and that is the performance. So this version is noticeably faster and smoother than iOS 12.1.2 and really any previous version of iOS as well. All of the animations feel faster all throughout iOS. I haven't had any kind of hiccups when it comes to the app switcher or any applications in general. I have not had any hiccups, any lag, anything in 12.1.3. It's been really spectacular as far as performance goes. Now, I and many other people in forums and in my comment section here on YouTube first noticed the speed improvement in the third and fourth beta. And then when the final version was released, it was thankfully just as smooth as both the third and the fourth beta, which were noticeably better than the second beta. And when it comes to actual performance, this is just one of those things that I can't really show you on camera because it's going to seem the same as 12.1.2 or 12.1.1, but since I test all these firmwares extensively, I know when a firmware is faster or smoother than another. It's just really something you notice after using the phone for about 3 or 4 days. I'm sure you guys notice it as well if you pay close enough attention. Now, another thing that helps 12.1.3 feel a little bit faster is a bug fix that allows you to scroll through your pictures in iMessage now. So I touched on this in my initial review video on 12.1.3, but the long-lasting bug where basically you'd scroll through your images here. If you go into a text message and you go to info and scroll through all the old pictures that were sent between you two or maybe in a group, it would actually lag. Sometimes messages would crash as you kept scrolling. Sometimes it would shoot back to the top and send you back to the top. And it was just really a struggle. There'd be a lot of lag involved, crashing involved, but now with 12.1.3, there is none of that. And it feels really smooth. So if you do this a lot, you're going to notice a big improvement in performance as well. So yeah, the performance on 12.1.3 is fantastic and is a big reason I recommend this update. All right, so now let's discuss the battery life on 12.1.3. So I'm going to open up my battery settings here. Let's first check out my battery health. I still am at 100% capacity here on my XS Max. And if we go down, you can see my average battery life right here. You can see what it is over the last 24 hours. And then over the last 10 days, you can see right there. So just over 6 hours. And I know this doesn't really prove how great battery life is because I could be using a lot more intensive things. As you can see, I was using YouTube. So obviously video is going to drain battery faster than some of these other applications. But overall, I basically do the same thing all the time on my phone. It's not like I have a drastically different thing that I do on my phone from one day versus another. I do pretty much the same thing every day. So I will tell you that battery life on 12.1.3 after a week of using it is worse than 12.1.2, which is pretty unfortunate. And it's actually kind of surprising as well because there weren't really any new features or anything to cause this in 12.1.3. It was just minor bug fixes and minor changes. So I can't really imagine what could have caused the battery to decrease here on 12.1.3. Now, of course, this is going to vary for every single user on every single device. It's not going to be the same for any one person. So you could be having great battery life, but me personally, I'm not having as good a battery life as I was on 12.1.2. And now into 12.2 beta 1, I'm actually getting better battery life on 12.2 beta 1 than I am on the final version of 12.1.3, which is pretty unfortunate for the final version of 12.1.3. So yeah, I'm really curious to know how battery life has been treating you on iOS 12.1.3. So definitely let me know down in a comment below how the battery life has been for you on 12.1.3. Also let me know what device you're using as well down there in the comments section. And now finally, let's talk about cell and Wi-Fi connectivity, which is the main reason this update isn't as great as I originally thought. So cell and Wi-Fi connectivity have been major issues for many people since iOS 12, like early versions of iOS 12 like iOS 12.0, 12.0.1, and it seems to have just gotten worse when the 2018 iPhones were released. Now, I'm not sure that this has anything to do with the introduction of dual SIM and eSIM or whatnot, but it's been a problem for a lot of people, YouTubers included, myself included, just a ton of people always complain about this. If you just look at the comment section in any of my iOS update videos, you will see a lot of people also complaining about cell or Wi-Fi connectivity. And the thing is, this was never an issue in iOS 11, so I'm not really sure what happened with iOS 12 to cause this, but it's very, very frustrating. And the big issue I'm having with 12.1.3 is Wi-Fi dropping. It seems that no matter how many updates there are, my Wi-Fi drops at least once per day on my iPhone XS Max. And I originally thought that iOS 12.1.3 fixed this because I didn't actually have this the first 2 days of using 12.1.3, but then it came back. So I decided to run a test comparing iOS 12.1.3 to iOS 12.2, and I found that iOS 12.1.3 actually has issues when it comes to Wi-Fi connectivity and dropping the connection, whereas iOS 12.2 does not. So watch this short video I took earlier today. And there it goes. You can see Wi-Fi dropped on iOS 12.1.3. You can see it has not dropped there on 12.2. So you can see it still hasn't reconnected. So we're going to go into settings and take a look at what's going on. So you can see it did just reconnect, but it did take a few seconds and it did fully drop out there on 12.1.3. So that's what I'm talking about. And that happens at least once per day, whereas that never happens when I'm testing 12.2 here on the XR. So really interesting result there. So as you can see, my iPhone XS Max dropped the Wi-Fi signal and struggled to connect back, whereas my iPhone XR on iOS 12.2 beta 1 did not drop Wi-Fi at all. And keep in mind, these were both connected to the same Wi-Fi network, and I had also just reset network settings on both devices before running this test. So obviously that is really frustrating, but I guess the good news is that it appears to be fixed in 12.2. But of course, I won't know for sure until I update my iPhone XS Max here to iOS 12.2, which I will be doing when beta 2 gets released. So if you want to follow along with that, make sure you are subscribed because I will definitely be updating you guys on that because this is a major issue that I am facing. Now, when it comes to cell connectivity, that is also still an issue for me. Now, it's not like I'm back to dropping calls like I was in earlier versions of iOS 12, which you guys know about, but the signal strength just seems to be really, really low. And I mean, I ran another test between iOS 12.2 and 12.1.3, and it seems exactly the same on both versions. I did also swap SIM cards when I was outside of my house, but again, the results were the same. The cell connectivity seemed the same on both 12.1.3 and 12.2. Now, like I said, this does not seem to affect phone calls since I haven't dropped any calls or anything like that, but it does affect LTE speeds when out and about, which is pretty annoying. Like you can see right here, I have 2 bars, so I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect from Wi-Fi and then just go to something like apple.com and try to load that up right here. We'll refresh. You can see it's not slow, but it's just a little bit slower than Wi-Fi and really what LTE should be, because a lot of people get over 100 megabytes down and, you know, close to 100 up from LTE speeds, but it seems like I don't get anywhere near that on LTE. So I'm just going to run a quick speed test. And you can see here my results from LTE are very, very bad. I mean, like we're talking 14, 15 megabytes download, and the upload is not going to be very great either. You can see here, it's going to run and be very terrible as well. You know, somewhere around 3 to 5 is what we're going to get on the upload. So LTE speeds are really bad. I mean, I know I don't get the best signal at my house here, which is pretty unfortunate, but even when I'm out and about where I'm getting like 4 bars, you know, it just isn't as fast as it should be. And keep in mind, a lot of times I used to have better signal in the same area. So like right now I have 2 bars, whereas before I had 3 bars. Like on the iPhone 10, I had 3 bars back in iOS 11, and even in the introduction to iOS 12, I had 3 bars, whereas I always have 2 here. So cell connectivity still seems to be an issue. Again, it's still yet to be determined if that's really a hardware issue with the 2018 iPhones, but I do not have that issue on the iPhone XR. So I'm starting to think that if it is a hardware issue, it's only on the iPhone XS and XS Max, because I've not had any issues at all with my iPhone XR. So yeah, overall, it seems that signal strength could be improved via software, and hopefully we do get that before iOS 13. Hopefully we get a lot of modem firmware updates for iOS before iOS 13. Now, since I know a lot of you guys do have older devices, I did go ahead and run iOS 12.1.3 here on my iPhone 8 Plus just to see how it is, and it's actually been running really well, just like all of my 2018 iPhones have been. And I just love that Apple still focuses on improving older devices like the 8 Plus, because performance and battery life have been great overall for the older devices. I haven't tested it yet on the iPhone 7 Plus or the iPhone 6, but I will test those as well in the future. But on the iPhone 8 Plus, 12.1.3 is running great. So with all that being said, should you still update to iOS 12.1.3? And the answer is yes. I mean, really the only bad thing is cell connectivity and Wi-Fi connectivity, which is a big deal, don't get me wrong. And that's the original reason why I thought 12.1.3 was such a great update, because I thought it fixed that, but it didn't. But like I said, overall, the performance and the battery life are great. You also get some major bug fixes and some security enhancements as well. And it looks like 12.2 is going to shape up to be even better than 12.1.3. So definitely stay tuned to the channel so you can watch all my iOS 12.2 coverage. So yeah, that's been my experience with 12.1.3. Let me know yours below. Let me know what device you're running and what kind of experiences you've been having with 12.1.3 over the past week or so. And if you guys did enjoy this video and found it informative, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe so you can see a lot more future iOS updates just like this one. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. There we go. So the Wi-Fi just dropped on iOS 12.1.3. So let's go into our settings and see if it actually shows up in there. So you can see BBSN 5G is my network, and for some reason the Wi-Fi just completely dropped. Even though it's showing, it still has connection here in my Wi-Fi settings, and it's failing to reconnect as well.